I want to introduce two wonderful ladies from the Hunter Valley, or actually from Newcastle, Dianne Monaghan and Steph Berwick. And, you know, we can hear all these presentations from representatives of government departments and other agencies, spectacular as they are, but what we've got next are two people who actually have lived it. So Dianne and Steph, come on up. These are two mums from Newcastle who have participated in the NDIS trial, and you know it's really hard to beat lived experience. So they're going to give you the story of the NDIS as they experienced it at the trial site, and I'm sure you're going to find it as wonderful. This is the third time I've heard this, and I haven't grown tired of it yet.
Good.
It's great.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steph Berwick and this is Dianne Monaghan.
Hi.
And we would like to tell you our short story about our NDIA experience called the Junction Project, in which we have managed to gain independence for our boys with the help of the NDIA. That's what it's called, pleasure, pain and triumph. Oh, this is my son Fraser. Fraser is a lovely young guy, he's 26. He has a mental disability and 21 developed schizophrenia. So the last 6 years or so of our life has been very difficult, but he's now very happy living in a house that we will tell you about.
This is Michael. He's my son. He's 28 years old. He was born with a number of medical conditions, mainly renal failure, and at present he has dialysis 7 days a fortnight. He has a wonderful personality. His disability is intellectual disability, moderate level. Because we live in the country, we wanted him to move to Newcastle, and when we did I donated a kidney to him in 2008. The caseworker we had came to see us, and because, as I said, I donated the kidney, she was concerned that if something happened to me, what would happen to my son? Anyway, we filled in all the forms, you know, things for the group homes that the government run. Anyway, that took some time. They went away, filed it, and it's never been seen since. There's no list, whatever. So the only way something was going to happen is if we did something. No one gives us anything. So we decided, well, we've got to have to do something. But we weren't sure how to go about this. Now, in the little project that we did get underway, there's 3 young men. This is Josh. Now, this is the third member of our household. He's a lively young man. He's 26 years old.
He was actually on the film.
Oh, yes.
The NDIA film you would have seen
the young
in
boy,
the beginning.
Yeah, with his father.
With his father, yeah.
Yes, so that's our third member. Now, he's the performer of the group. He dances in a dance group. He loves going to work with House with No Steps 5 days a week. He, is trying to develop a six-pack, going to the gym every day. And he enjoys being in the house. He has very little language, but somehow all the boys communicate very well. Now, how Steph and I came together was through a support group called ANSA, Adults Needing Supported Accommodation. Steph and I didn't know each other. And when we came to this group, we found that we kind of hit it off, sort of thing. And in conversations, we realised that our boys actually knew each other from the same service provider. They've known each other for 7 to 8 years. That says a lot, doesn't it? And so we got to know each other, and within the group, it was wonderful because people just accepted us who we were, which was amazing.
We started off with 10 families, and when we first got there, most of us were pretty low, down at rock bottom actually. I was wondering what on earth I was going to do. I'm getting older, my husband's getting older. What is going to happen to our boys when we die? Nobody looks after them like we do. And this group has made a remarkable transformation for us. We got to know each other and realised our goals were much the same. We wanted our boys to be as independent as possible. They'll never be able to live really independently, but with the support they could possibly do it. And we have 15 families now in the group, 17 peoples covering a wide range of disabilities, and most of them have achieved some form of independence. We have some that have bought their own units, some are renting, some are staying in their family home, which is possible now with NDIA, you can do that, and some are moving into shared accommodation. And Dianne and I will tell you what we have done.
And all this has happened with the help of the NDIA. It wasn't possible before that in the old system. Now, and actually, one of the good things, just quickly about our group, was the chook and talk. Now, that might sound a bit odd, but the service provided that, we used their room, believed in what we're all trying to achieve, and they'd come in with a chook and some bread rolls, and we'd have lunch, and all the carers would just sit down and we'd just talk. And that's how we found out some of the issues people had. And being carers, we were able to help each other, and it was amazing. Singularly, we didn't have the skills to do what we've done, but as a group and together, we've achieved, we think, some amazing things.
Okay, our first big thing was to find a coffee shop. Absolutely essential. So you can sit there, and we used to sit there for hours discussing what can we do, how can we make this happen. This is before NDIA came. Yeah. How can we do this? And yes, we could do this, yes, we could do that. And finally, after a couple of years, we just said, right, let's make a date. Mm-hmm. We could talk for another 10 years, 20 years, whatever. We could. Trying to talk around it, what can we do, why don't we actually set a date and do something? Why don't we try and... We thought about building a house and then decided, well, if it didn't work out, that's a lot of money down the gurgler. So we thought rental, we'll try renting a place first. So 1st of July, Dianne said, 1st of July, let's do it.
So we did. Now, and also this is pre-NDIA. We didn't have funding or anything, but we just felt so strongly that we wanted our boys set up when we're not here. Yes, with our talk and coffee and setting the date, what we did was, okay, we need a house. Now, we thought, not many people are going to rent us a house with 3 young men with disabilities. Well, within a week, we had one. Yes. And we were gobsmacked. We really were. And the fathers signed a 6-month lease, and Steph had written a beautiful letter to the real estate agent, stating why we wanted this house, what the boys wanted to achieve, mixing into the community and trying to get some independent skills. So, okay, we got the house and we thought, what are we going to do now? We have to staff it, don't we?
Yes, that was an interesting one.
So we all stepped up to the plate. We started doing rosters, and that includes the fathers. They didn't get out of this either. They got dragged along. Yeah. And we started doing rosters, and this is just like a Monday to Friday, and I started with my son the first night, Steph did one night, then we did 2 nights, one young man, and then we brought 2 of them together, and then 3, and we went from there. Now,
and this took about
3 to 5
months to do this. We were staffing it ourselves. So let me tell you, by the end of 5 months, we could tell NDIA what we needed in the way of supports. Yep. And it worked very well. I'm not suggesting that everyone has to do that, because we did it. It was a bit of the hard way, but we did it that way.
We just believed that we wanted to do something, and we just would have a go, and that's basically what we did. Now, and actually, we just skip just as quickly the compatibility with the families and the boys. We did a lot of family activities, just for the boys to get to know each other, because as I said, Fraser and Michael know each other, but Josh didn't know the other 2 boys. So we did quite a few of just interacting with them. Yep. And then once we moved in to the rental property, and that was the reason for the rental property, to see if they could live together.
Because if they didn't, it would have been a disaster if we'd bought something.
Yes.
And so living together was actually it worked out very well, and it gave us the chance to get to know the other family's children, and we're on a really good have good relationships now with them.
Yeah.
It made a big difference.
Yeah, and the boys still do have separation issues, and I think they'll always have them. They depend on us so much. All their life they've depended on us. But the fact when you see them that they're doing things independently is amazing. You know, I don't mind the phone calls a day. At least I know what he's doing, and he always knows where I am.
Well,
you know?
I mind my son running away. So, which
Yeah,
he did on Friday.
He's the absconder, but
He's
that's
the
okay.
absconder. But he always comes back.
Yeah. So the house was rented for 12 months, and then we sort of got to the point where we thought, well, we really did want security, and we didn't think we had that with the rental property. So the three families joined together and pulled our funds, and we, again, started looking for a property. We thought, this is going to take ages. But we thought, okay, we can do this.
Yep.
And we did. Within 2 weeks, we found a property. It had been on the market for some time, and we were successful with our bids. And it's a bigger house, and it's fantastic for the boys. So by them moving into the new home, they do have a permanent residency, and we can now start engaging them in the community, which has been fantastic. So that's the hardest part, is bringing the community into their lives and them
Yep.
into the community.
We also have sleepover support for them. So there's a carer there from Monday night to Saturday morning. They come in at 4 in the afternoon and they leave at 8:30 in the morning when the boys go off to their day programs and work. So that's been amazing. And in that time, the boys have learnt to they've been together now 15, 16 months. None of them could use a debit card before this, so now they go up, get their money plan their meals, go up and get their money out with their debit card for the week's shopping, go to Coles or Aldi, wherever, do their shopping, come back, help prepare the meal. They still can't cook yet, but they're gradually learning. I don't know if they ever will be able to cook a whole meal, but they can do all the chopping and whatever now. It's just wonderful to see them. And they help with the cooking, set the table, do the washing up. It's just amazing when I think of what my son was like 15 months ago. They do their own washing.
Sometimes they don't like doing it, but when you live on your own, you've got to
They
do
don't
it,
like
don't
doing
you?
it a lot.
Now, this picture up here of our boys, just go back. This is their pub night. This is the highlight of their week. They go with a carer to their pub. And now where they live, where they've moved to, is a really good area. There's lots of pubs and restaurants and everything.
Lucky for them.
They choose, they've got a better life than we have. They choose where they want to go, they choose their meals, they use their key cards and things like that, as Steph said. So we think it's an amazing thing. And as you can see, my son there is rather happy. Now, just quickly, with the house, reviewing and adapting our strategy, we started having parent meetings every month. And from those meetings, we set up what we call a mini board. Steph's husband is in finance, so he was able to be the treasurer.
Who never does the accounts.
No, I do all that, because he's a boss, he just delegates.
He just tells people what to do.
And my husband does the staffing, and he liaises with the service provider who provides the staff. And we have a secretary, I pay accounts, and Steph does menus and
I'm the events organiser.
Keeps us on track where we have to be. And you want to do that? Minimising risk.
We have. We also asked through NDIA if we could have a meeting at least once every 2 months between ourselves, the parents, the boys, the support staff, and the service providers of their day programs. So we all know what is going on and we're all doing the same thing. So that happens every 2 months and has been funded by NDIA. So that's something to think about as well. And it helps minimise risk, because then everybody knows. They know my son, Fraser, he's likely to, if he's left by himself, he'll just go. And he makes his way from my place all the time, so we know where he's going, but we don't know which route he's taken. So it could be any one of 6. But at least everybody knows that, and we're working towards, getting a little alarm system and GPS watch, and I'm going to hit them for that when I go and see them this week.
We'll see.
See what happens.
Yeah. Now, people said, we've been lucky finding the house and things like that. In a way, we haven't. We have sort of stepped up, saying that we can do this. We tell our children, you can do this all the time. So we applied it to ourselves. And that's, I think, why we are where we are with it. And I know what we've done with the Junction Project is just one way of independence, but there's lots of different ways. And from our group, we found that, some people want to stay at home, and their parent is going to move into aged care, and they can. The new system allows them to do that. There's lots of different ways, but we just wanted to show you how NDIA have allowed us to do this with the support that's required.
Because we just would not be doing it if we didn't have that support from NDIA, because they provide us with all the supports in the house.
Yeah. And also, with our boys to do the transition to the independent living, it has taken a long time to talk them through that. I mean, my son said, of course, his older sister moved out of home and got a new bed and television and that's all he wanted. But that's all he could see. He couldn't actually see that he would live somewhere else. So it has taken a lot of talking and a lot of time and involvement on their part to go buy their furniture. They looked at the house. They've talked to staff. So we've included them in every way we can. And that has made the difference. And even in their planning, they go to the planning sessions with us. And now because they've been asked questions, they're learning to say what they want, express themselves. They tell the planners what they want.
Yep. Which is an amazing change. Their confidence has just risen exponentially with this experience. Now our next one is our personal view of the NDIA and how you prepare for it. Because you can't just wait for it to come and go in and not be prepared. We found you really, really need to think about these things. These are the things we found helped us. We hope they might be helpful for you as well. So when we were getting this together, we thought, oh, nifty, NDIA, we'll just put a few little things with the N and the D and the I and the A, which are pertinent. So the N, we have needs. What are your needs? What is your loved one's needs? What is necessary? What do you find is necessary for them and for their life to be lived in a fulfilling manner? And the NDIA creates new ideas and opportunities for your loved one.
And, in what you're having at present time is you still keep that if that's what works for you. But this is an opportunity for you to be able to look at different things, new directions, developing relationships that possibly your loved one wasn't able to develop before. Informal supports, which is a really, really important part in your plan. And independence, that's what this is about. It's fantastic. The independence our boys have, they're still dependent, but they have so much more independence.
Yep. They will never be fully independent, but with the support they are having, they are living in their own place. We only see them, they come home for weekends. We only see them at weekends, or unless some major crisis happens, like Fraser running away. But it is just wonderful.
And also,
fantastic.
That's right, and they're assimilating into the community, which is an important part for them, because when we're not here, the community is what they need. Accommodation, it's looking at the accommodation that they want, that we know that they're comfortable in, and advocacy, able to speak for themselves or having someone to speak for them.
Okay, this is the pre-planning. What we found was very, very useful. Know your present funding package so that you don't go in there. It's hopeless going in there if you don't know what money you're getting and how it's being used. So try and find that out from your service provider.
They should tell you, because it's there, it's your money, so they should be able to tell you. And the other thing with your plan is keep it simple, really, so it's much easier to work with and to develop. It doesn't have to be complicated. A lot of people are getting, this plan, it's a really big thing, but it's not really if you approach it with the right attitude. And we took in a one-page profile just for basics with the name, the age, the disability, the service providers that you're using, the, your likes, dislikes, any just little special things that the planner can just look at a glance. That these are the important things.
And maybe a
that was
few
good.
photos there as well.
Yeah, just
of showing them doing their different activities and
just
whatever.
something like
just so it's more
like that.
personal and they can have get to know the person, and also have medical history. If they have a complicated medical history, you need to note that down as well, just so they understand where you're coming from. And our big thing is keeping a diary.
Yes, that's the most
A diary
important.
for the person that you're getting the support for, and a diary for you about what you do every day.
Because we forget about ourselves. And it's from when they get up in the morning, what you have to do to when they go to bed. Because we just do. We don't think about it. And if we're not here, someone has to do what we do. So you need to put that down. So when you're doing your plan, you can flick back and think, oh yeah, I do that. No, I do that.
I have to get them up and make sure they've got the clothes on their right way.
Or inside out.
Or not inside out. Just even things like that, because that is actually what you do, and that is what your plan will entail, is somebody supporting them will be doing that as well. So you need to have all that written down.
Yeah, and include any hospital stays or anything like that, because that is, the person's life. Because I know my son can go to hospital a couple of times a year, so it's a different kind of support. And if that's included in your plan, you've got your line there, you can claim on that, which is really important. Yeah. Now, the pictures with young Josh, when he went with his family to the NDIA, he very limited speech. So they did a folder up with pictures of what he does. So he could sit there and say, me, mum, dad, and the carer could see what he does and what he wanted to do. And a picture tells 1,000 words.
Very worthwhile.
Very powerful. Now, I think it's been mentioned before today, is the short and long-term goals. The long-term is where you really write down the track when you're elderly. Where do you think your loved one's going to be, or where does that person want to be? And the short-term, they're basically that road that you have to travel along to get to your goal, but it's not big goals. Sometimes it's the little goals. Like my son, even, he couldn't use a knife very well and cut up carrots or something. So that's in his living skills. It's learning how to cut things, which is quite difficult sometimes if you've got poor coordination. So they can be small things, but each small thing adds up to a big thing.
Or hanging out your washing.
That's a task. That's huge.
Their first washing line was a picture to behold. Things just dumped like this with a peg on top.
It was classic.
Yeah. So each goal that you have must be smart. It must be specific. It must be measurable, so don't put some really unachievable goal there, because it's never going to happen. We all have to just think like this, give them goals that can happen for them. Make it achievable, make it realistic, and time framed, so that you have, because usually plans are 12 months. We're going to try and achieve this goal within the next 12 months. And if it happens, great, you can ring up and say, we've done this, we need to talk about setting some more goals. And if not, you go to your meeting and say, and you produce some information that shows them and just say, look, we haven't reached this, we need more time.
That's right. When you say measurable, say from day one when you start your plan, that's day one where you start your measuring point, like my son with the carrots sort of thing. And then in 6 months or something, or 3 months, we had our first reviews, we could turn around and say, oh yes, he's achieved this, he's doing this, this and this.
He can cut his carrots.
He can, actually. It was a big task. So now we've moved on to another one. So we've achieved that little one. So now he's helping cut things up for tea and things. It's quite surprising how quickly he's moved on to the next one. Now, in your plan, every funded support must be related to a goal. So when you have your goal, then they cost that out to that goal, the supports that are required to achieve that goal. You can only purchase what's in the plan, and please remember that, because if you, a month or so down the track think, oh, well, I do need this bit extra, whatever. No,
You can't do it.
you can't do
You
it.
won't get the money for it because it's not in the plan. So
Yeah.
just make sure you get what you need in the plan. That's why planning is really important.
And the NDI clusters, which is on the NDIA website, is a good thing to have a look at and read, because it actually says all the different categories that are the lines that you can have a support from. And that's what they relate it back to, and that's the costings and that they relate to. And the service providers use those lines to claim their service they've provided. And remember, continuity of care, very good little phrase, because coming from the old funding to the new funding, which is, I'm not sure what you call it here, but we have it called ADIC, which is a government funding body, and the NDIA, it's very different. So you have to kind of leave that old funding thinking behind and move to a new way of thinking. And the continuity of care comes in saying that you go from one to the other with not losing any service, and it basically stays the same.
You should not lose any of your supports or funding. It should be the same or better.
And coordination of complex needs is another one as well, because that's really important, because sometimes you might have to have a lot of different things come into place, or you have to be able to keep that together and not be separated.
Okay, now, we call ourselves self-directed. NDIA holds our money, and we have appointed different service providers to provide the overnight care. They have day programs. We have 6-7 service providers over the 3 families. So NDIA holds the money, and the service providers bill NDIA for the services. So, and also in the plan, there are things called flexible and fixed funded supports. As it says, fixed doesn't vary, that's just what it is. And
for instance, in our plan with the boys, that is the staffing of the house, which is fixed. So that's worked out, with NDIA saying it's a certain component, overnight stay, the boys go to a day program, but then the staff come in the afternoon. So that's all in that fixed support. And then the flexible is their weekend activities, the different types of things. Like young Josh does cooking on a Saturday, he does some iPad support, and he does money training. And my son, he has a few different social things that he goes to, which it's really good. Now, also in the plans, there is equipment component. As you see in the clusters on the website, you'll see all the different equipment, wheelchairs and different things like that. And some people who have difficulty in speech and things have been able to get an iPad, but specifically for that need. And apps for different, technology. And the other thing that's really important is a circle of friends, which is the informal supports.
Which we have made with the 3 families. It's just been amazing that we now have 3 families. Phil and I, my husband and I, were able to actually go away to see my other son in Adelaide 2 or 3 weeks ago, because Dianne and her husband looked after Fraser at the house. And then we reciprocated the next weekend when they went to an 80th in Junee. We looked after Michael in the house. So you actually have that extra support then that gives you a bit of time for yourselves. It's fabulous, actually, to be able to do that.
And the other thing, when you go for your plan, when you meet your planner, go in with the attitude that you want to work with, not I'm going to have this and I'm going to have that, they're going to take away from me, because that's not what they're there to do. They're there to work with you. And a couple of people I know have actually asked for a change of planner, but basically because their loved one had very complex medical needs, and the person that was the planner didn't have the skills to understand what was required. So a new planner was allocated, but you can't just ask one because you don't like the colour of their hair or whatever. But it's if there's a desired outcome that you want, yes, they're reasonable.
Our planner is great because he's been a mental health nurse, so he understands my son's schizophrenia very well, and he's also been a clinical nurse, so he understands Michael's problems with renal failure, and he's been wonderful. We work with him in a partnership.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It is a partnership. And it's realistic expectations as well, because they're wanting to work with you and create a life for the person you love in a different system. And you really do just have to be that realistic in what you expect from them, because they will not give you the money to buy a house. They do not pay for medical expenses, but they pay for the support so that you can do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, they are not your enemy, they are your partner.
That's right.
In all of this.
Yeah.
We started off, usually it's a yearly review. We started off, because of what we were doing was so different with the house and the boys. We started off, we've had 2 3-monthly reviews. We're just about to have a 6-monthly review on Thursday. And that will probably then morph into 12 months, because we've had that consolidation time for the house and the supports that are there. And that's what we're doing now, is consolidating their life in the house.
Mm. And as has been said before, that if you run into problems while you're planning that 12 months, you can ring up and ask for a review or assistance because you need more help. And also, if you totally disagree with the outcome of your plan or a part of your plan, there is an appeal process that you can go through.
Okay, so our last thing is, I will read this bit. An unexpected benefit from our project is, for the last 25 odd years, our main role in our sons' lives have been as their carers and parents second. It has just been in the last couple of months that we have realised that our roles have now changed and we are mum and dads again. Now when we see our boys, we can just enjoy their company, and it's nice to know that they actually do miss us from time to time.
Yes, and please do remember, change is hard sometimes, but change can be for the better. And the outcome that we've had has been so much better for our boys than we hoped for. And the NDIA is a good thing. Now, in one way, we'd like to finish with something that my husband has said. Who loves our children the most? We do. Who looks after our children the best? We do. Who are the ones who hinder their development the most? We do. Because we have become too close to them, true, and we are coloured by our experience. We have found this to be very true through the process of setting up the Junction project, and our sons are benefiting greatly, and so are we. Now, up on the screen there, adults needing accommodation, we've got a email account if anybody wants to sort of look at setting up a group with people,
or just have a chat about
just
things.
to have a chat about things in relation, or us two, Coffee and Possibilities, which we think is a really good thing.
We can tell you where your coffee shops are. We'll find it on Around Us app.
That we'd be happy to answer emails if you have any questions. Thank you for listening to us today.
Yeah, thank you very much.